It's like telling you about a coming economic collapse, and it's telling you that the party is over for like the left, but something a little bit bigger than the left, sort of like this great big immoral, sexually exploitive kind of music industry thing. It's telling you that the party is coming to an end and it's all falling apart. It's telling you that the dollar is about to be worthless, and it's telling you that there might be unrest. It's a very interesting video, honestly. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of a masterpiece in that way. If you could look past Kim Kardashian's ass, which admittedly is a task. Very difficult, dude.
So you're telling me this? You deciphered all of this from a couple minute long weird post
actually,
from Kim Kardashian on Christmas?
It's a 4 minute and 44 second long post, Clint, which is
that they tell you
in the community.
And they tell you several times throughout it that this is like a Stanley Kubrick film, which you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to know that Kubrick went to great lengths to enrich his background with all kinds of subliminal messaging. And so in that way, it's telling you, the foreground is telling you nothing. The background is telling you everything. And when you look at it through that lens, you're like, oh shit, there's a story here. And it's pretty fucking cool. I don't want to give her too much due, but, and who knows how much of a role she played in it, but it was kind of genius.
Well, that is interesting.
Oh, you were in this?
You are kind of stupid, because how exactly have I said that? How exactly have I said that? Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead. Explain to me when I've said this.
I do understand I'm getting unhinged, and I can talk like...
No, not me at the moment.
But listen... But I get really passionate about it, because I can't imagine.
Yeah, probably you should put that passion somewhere else into, I don't know, informing yourself, because... Sorry, stop muting me, by the way.
If I go to your fucking house and tell you how you're supposed to act, and I'll call you that you racist...
When have I told you how to act? When have I done this?
You know, you're insane. You
sound actually unhinged, and I hope that you probably seek out the necessary medical attention that you need in order to deal with this insanity, because you are a threat to the fucking platform.
I've waited a long time. So let me just make my point.
You think you're superior. That's what it is.
Wow. I don't think I'm superior to anyone. I clearly stated I have the smoothest brain on the planet.
No, you definitely think you're superior, but that's okay. The point I wanted to make... I
definitely think I'm super smooth-brained, and I think I'm like the most aerodynamic thing here. You know, like those spheres that they manufacture to test like whether or not a kilogram is actually accurate? You know, the spheres of silicon, that's how smooth my brain is.
Yeah, you're the UFOs over New Jersey.
It's so flat and such a mirror that you can see the future in it, and you don't like what you see.
Jesus Christ, you're obnoxious. All right, so the point I wanted to get to...
So that was allegedly... my engagement with Elon Musk.
Right.
I don't believe it's Elon Musk. Let me make that very clear.
Wait, really?
Yeah, people
sound like him.
People are adamant that Adrian Dittman is Elon Musk, and that got cut off there. But I called him an asshole later. I said he's obnoxious. I said he came in there as antagonistic as humanly possible. If it is Elon, I expect my account to be nuked within 48 hours because I was not very nice to him. But
whatever. A bunch of these guys, that other dude, SMG, got his shit taken away too. Patriot J got his shit taken away. Quite a few.
So yeah, let me break this down a little bit. So the allegation is that Laura Loomer basically doxed somebody. It was a guy who wasn't even the guy that was being put in as an advisor to Trump. He had the same name, and he donated to Kamala Harris. She claims that she redacted the address for this gentleman. They claim she did not. I don't know what the truth is. If she in fact put out the address for this guy who wasn't even a guy that's going into the Trump administration, then that's fucking terrible. And obviously she gets whatever comes to her for that. That was a huge mistake. If it was in fact redacted and she's just being hammered because she went hard in the paint against H-1Bs and against Elon and Vivek yesterday, well, that's a totally different thing, in which case old Twitter is now new Twitter and we're back in censorious times. So I don't know what's true.
There's
it's
also
a matter of time till that happened, by the way, till it regressed.
Yeah. True. There's also the idea where, again, I was doxxed by transgender Twitter.
Right.
And I tagged
You didn't even
Elon
deserve
Musk.
that.
No, I didn't say anything crazy. Listen, the people
Ask
voted.
a question, dude. Just ask a question.
Asking a question.
That's all.
It doesn't matter if you're offensive or not. The fact is, you can't do that. It's not just terms of service, but now you're making a physical threat. And nothing happened to this person. As a matter of fact, they responded to me almost immediately saying they didn't violate any of their policy. So I was like, okay, so I can say whatever I want then?
That's
apparently not.
Same thing happened with Nick Fuentes, though. the people that doxed Fuentes, like all he said was, "Your body, my choice." Like that's all he said.
That's it, dude. It's kind of a banger.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny.
It is funny.
And I think he meant it as a joke because he didn't even vote for Trump.
No,
so
of course. And look, if you're looking at Nick Fuentes, it's like he doesn't have the ability to execute your body, his choice.
He
You
also
know what I mean?
doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to, right?
yeah,
but it is
he's
funny.
a virgin.
It's,
it's literally
yes.
your body is definitely not his choice at this point.
Just a banger of a joke. It really is.
Yeah, but so anyways, he posts that on election night. He then has. I was on a space with him last night too. I was doing spaces all night. I don't know why, but he explains that after that he got doxxed aggressively. He reported the doxing, did not get pulled down. It was seen millions of times too. So it does seem as if. Oh, and then on top of that, over almost 100 people came to his house because of that doxing.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then a person who allegedly murdered 3 people showed up at his house armed to the teeth to try and take out Nick, was killed by the cops. This actually fucking happened, and no one seems to really care about it just because they don't like Nick Fuentes. And I'm like, this is madness. And apparently X did nothing to stop the doxing of him. So he's now looking at litigation against X for, basically putting him in jeopardy. I don't know if there's any validity to that claim, but regardless, it does seem this on top of the Laura Loomer, she was suspended and she also lost her blue check and she lost all of her subscribers. So she's being hammered. And then everybody she was affiliated with. So apparently what happened was like 60 or so dissident right-wing figures all paid, I think it's $1,000, maybe it's more per month to have a verified like corporate account on X, and they all shared this badge. So everybody that was affiliated with her on that also is now under review. They had all of their blue checks, thrown into under review because of her actions. So
but
that's
it's not
the whole
because of that.
drama.
That's
the story. So
it's not because she doxed. I mean, that's a great excuse, but then why are the other people that have lost their blue check and are back under review? They've all been critical of the H-1B visa stuff.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is like the claim is because they lost. I guess because she violated the policy, she loses that. I think maybe that account was under her registration, so therefore everybody else that was using that account, essentially that account is no longer. You're no longer going to have the paid verified of this conservative media thing. So none of those people should lose their subscribers. None of them should lose their blue check. If they do, if everybody that's affiliated with her gets hammered the same way, well then yeah, this is old Twitter censorious insanity.
Just a different flavor of cancel culture, more or less.
I think it's kind of cool. The reason I think
I can never. This is why I like talking to Top. I never expect what his angle's going to be. Go ahead.
No, and it's like I'm not taking the contrary on any of this, but I don't want to jump the gun.
You definitely are.
I'm being honest with you. I also don't want to jump the gun into the further conversation when we get into the H-1B visas and my immigration, because I think that's what this is all about. But if I paid a lot of money for a platform, I wouldn't want people on it opposing what I'm doing. And if they were, I could just pull some fucking strings and make it the way I want it. Why would I let you come here and run the show and ratio me on my own website? No,
but who's
I'd adjust
doing
the block
that?
button.
Because I'm looking at Elon, and I have a really hard time figuring out how much influence he actually has over X. Only because we do a lot.
Spirit fingers.
We do a lot, right? We're constantly working. We're putting out content. We're trying to build something. This is a guy who's doing SpaceX. He's also doing The Boring Company. He's also doing all these appearances in spaces. He's running the biggest social media company on the planet. And he's seemingly ranked like number 2 or something in Diablo, which is fucking insane. I mean, dude, the amount of hours you have to allocate to that game in order to rank that high, I couldn't even imagine how many that is.
No sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And then, look, I know it's going to seem a little crazy. That sounded like Elon Musk to me. And I do think I've suspected for a while that he runs multiple accounts. Like I think he runs his parody account, Elon Musk parody. I think it gives him an outlet to explore certain ideas, and sometimes the way they play off each other, it just seems like the same guy running two accounts. If he truly is, and I would do that, by the way, if I owned the biggest social media conglomeration on the planet, I would have multiple accounts.
If you actually had the free time to do that.
How does he have the free time to do Diablo?
Okay, so maybe
he's also got 10 kids and like 6 baby mamas. What?
Something about him doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he's got a lot of money. You could explain the kids have nannies. You could explain that he's the CEO of these companies, but he's delegated responsibility effectively. What you can't explain is like how much time he's using on Twitter, even just on his Elon Musk is his main account. And it's funny when you see people, they're like, "What are you doing on Twitter?" Like back when I kind of first started, I was like, "I don't know. This shit seems important. People are like talking on here and there's like something moving." Well, now you got the richest guy in the world who put $44 billion into it and not just bought it, but he's like an avid user. He's one of the most prolific users on. He's not that good at it, I don't think, but he uses it a lot. It tells you that this shit is really important in whatever we're moving towards and however the culture has been moved.
But I do think that he's recognized the significance of the cultural effect of Twitter. And that was, I think, exemplified back when you had your tweet top, the famous one with Mel Gibson or Joe Biden, right? And after he retweeted that, he moved the culture, the conversation in a dramatically different direction that only hindsight tells you was pretty impactful as far as, things about the Jews or whatever. He did that again recently. We talked about this where he did how do I say this? I don't want to get you yanked off YouTube, but there's, the whole
the conspiracy with John Podesta and all
P-Gate,
that.
P-Gate, that whole thing. He retweeted that recently.
P-Gate, the R. Kelly thing, P-Gate.
Yeah. Different, but same. But I mean, he does. I don't think he may not be the best tweeter, to Top's point, but I think he has a really good handle on his ability to move a cultural conversation. So I don't know. I don't want to attribute 5D chess to a dude who's not playing 5D chess. And I think we in the conspiracy community do that a lot. We kind of attribute, higher levels of intellect to people that don't deserve it. However,
he deserves it, dude. He's doing something.
Right. And I just go, when he's, are you violating the terms of service when you dox somebody? Almost certainly, right? I could imagine that within the terms of service of Twitter, it is on its face a violation to do that
100%.
sort of thing. When you allow it to perpetuate and then it spirals into some of the biggest cultural moments we've seen unfold on Twitter, I have to ask myself if he lets a thing slide when he thinks it's advantageous or when he doesn't, so
that's my concern. And that's always been my concern with X. It's not so much that the rules are like of particular concern. It's that are they actually applied equally?
Almost certainly not.
And are they static? Like, are they shifting with the wind? And the answer is, well, they're definitely shifting with the wind because he just changes shit every month. But also, it doesn't feel as if it's being applied equitably, which was the entire complaint of old guard Twitter, because people like us were constantly being suspended or banned entirely, whereas people with left-leaning politics were basically free to run wild. And now, there's been allegations that now this is the right-wing version of Twitter where it's extraordinarily biased towards the right. That doesn't appear to be the case if what's happening to Laura Loomer and these other folks is in fact unjust. Now, let me just say, though, if she doxed some random dude with the same name, she fucked up majorly.
Yeah.
And that's on her. So we I'm going to reserve judgment until I actually know for a fact. She claims that the address was redacted. I don't know if that's true.
Laura Loomer, I mean, I've met her in real life. She's just kind of nice in real life, but she's a piece of shit online. You do a lot of things that are horrible.
And this is coming from Top Lobster.
Yeah, and I'm a piece of shit online.
Yeah, no, this
Sorry,
is actually
Pool.
She is totally female you. You're really nice in person, but online you're a total piece of shit, just like Laura Loomer.
I feel like people hate me less online. Like, here's a question.
Wait, what? People hate you more in person?
It's off-putting when it comes from women. We don't like that.
They hate me less than her. Like, okay, a good example is a lot of people love me online. A lot of people hate me. I don't think anybody loves Laura Loomer. They just like you follow her because you're like, what's she doing now? She's chaining herself to Twitter. She's fighting Milo Yiannopoulos. Like, nothing good ever, but like, no, she doesn't have any fans. She just has people that watch her because she's a spectacle.
Did you watch the argument with her and Milo Yiannopoulos? Because I saw it.
I did.
there's like that, it's I think it's nighttime. They're outside. They're face to face. There's somebody between them recording, and they're arguing with one another. And I looked at
Jimi Hendrix is recording them, which is very funny.
And I went, what am I fucking watching, dude? And I turned it off before they got any sort of, message, a semblance of something coherent out. I don't know what they were even talking about. I just said, why am I doing this? And that was going to be my question when you first brought up that space thing. You said you had been doing spaces a lot last night, and you didn't know why. It's funny because moments before that, I was going to ask you, don't you hate these people? Why are you subjecting yourself to these people? It's a very strange thing, this like the personalities, the inflammatory personalities that have developed around political conversations, especially at a time where like it seems to matter more than ever. There's so much on the line, and you have sort of the WWE stars of political conversation. And I look at that and I go, God, it's just off-putting.
You know what's
Isn't
weird?
It exhausting?
What's weird about the spaces to me is that like, so Clint is this almost anomaly. You have like this great broadcasting voice, and you know how to handle yourself when you're talking, and you have a great Twitter presence. This guy, whoever that was with the MAGA hat, sounded like a retard. Elon
The guy
Musk.
that sounded like Elon? Yeah, Elon Musk.
No,
Elon Musk.
the other guy that was arguing with Elon Musk sounded like a retard. Elon Musk sounds kind of like a retard when he's on in a podcast format, and they love to do this shit. It's like just like they go with their huge accounts, they pull their pants down and they talk into their phone, and I'm like, it's bad. Some of it's really bad. Miles Chong, horrible,
Yeah,
disgusting.
No, it's almost always bad. But it's like Laura Loomer. It's the spectacle. It is entertaining. I actually enjoy the debates. Like if it's a genuine debate, it's just so rarely genuine. And this is why, like younger me, I honestly wish that like I had this profile and this reach when I was 25, because I was such a lunatic in my mid 20s. I would have just been screaming at the top of my lungs. Today, I'm not that guy. I don't have the energy to shout back. If someone starts to flip out on me, I just kind of go like, cool.
that's your
I think
opinion,
he said
dude.
it at one point.
Yeah.
I was listening to Clint when we were, watching that space moments ago, and his reply to the dude that was supposed to be Elon Musk was all very much like an old man's reply, like, you are exhausting. You have a very bad personality. This is draining me. Like that kind of energy. I can see that.
You're not stupid.
Young me though, I would have been like, "Fuck you, dude!" Let's
from the
go.
top rope. From the top rope. Yeah.
But old me is just like, "You're so obnoxious. You came in here very abrasive, and I don't understand why."
Yeah. You know what the other problem with this is? If that guy really is Elon Musk, there's a voice that very much sounds like him, and I'm willing to, because my disposition, I'm willing to entertain the idea that this guy is using multiple accounts. Right?
Let me interject real quick. Elon does not talk that fast.
That's the problem.
I've watched a ton of Elon Musk interviews. This man is very fast vocally. It is not Elon.
So here's the problem then, Clint. This is exactly, thank you, because that's where I was going. Like I said, don't like to attribute 5D chess to a guy that's not playing 5D chess. If anybody was, though, it might be Elon Musk. You could surmise that from his impact on the world stage. What if he's just been doing a slow drawl? Right? What if he's just been doing this unnatural? By the way, a lot of people look at his cadence on Rogan, and you're like people think it's profound when they ask him a question. Like, Rogan will say, "Well, what do you think about this?" And Elon will go, and he'll just stop and he'll stare at the ceiling, and then he'll talk like an Ent from the Lord of the Rings, and people go, "Wow, profound." I think Elon Musk is laughing at you that you think that that's profound. He's just slowing it down so that nobody suspects that when some fast talking dude with a voice that sounds very much like his is actually Elon Musk, people say, well, no, he's very slow. I don't know. I mean, look,
do you think does Billy Carson talk to his illegitimate children that like in the same cadence that he's he's giving you that like that slow cadence, and it's like to exemplify that I know all this stuff about ancient books that don't exist, yada yada yada. Yeah.
Do you think he talks like that on his headset in Diablo? Do you think he talks like that when like one of his 10 children, breaks into his like emerald stash or something? And do you think he comes to them and he talks real slow stuff? Like, I don't think he does. I think we all have these modes that we get into.
You're right. But I'm just telling you, I don't think it's him. That's my opinion. Anyways,
I hope
you
it
just
is.
you just I do too. It'd be funny if I called Elon Musk an asshole. But
You sir are rude.
top is just as you were saying about Billy Carson, which is yet another one of my mutuals, and I don't know if he's a friend, but mutuals. You have been going to war with all of my friends over the past 10 days.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's nothing unusual, honestly. But before we do that, I did want to play a clip of the Loomer Milo
Okay, great,
showdown.
because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, you were hiding behind the garbage can. Oh, yeah.
You know, the period where you could just say things and people would assume that you were not lying is over.
You're a liar, Milo. Everything that you wrote about me is a complete lie.
No,
everything that you said. You said I was banned from Mar-a-Lago. I was at Mar-a-Lago 2 weeks ago for dinner.
You should really.
I was at Mar-a-Lago 2 weeks ago.
Somebody like
I was
you-
at Mar-a-Lago for dinner 2 weeks ago, Milo. So
This is reality TV show for ugly people.
Yes.
You know what you were told.
What
You
was
know
I?
you shouldn't
What was
have
I told? What was I told?
You know you shouldn't have been
I wasn't told anything.
Family doesn't want you there. Family doesn't want you anywhere near him.
That's not true, Milo. You are a liar, Milo. You're jealous because you have never been able to recover from being canceled. Maybe if you went to rehab and got control of your drug addiction, you would actually be able to, get your life back.
Dude,
So-
this is people looking for this moment, isn't
This
it?
is a gay
The dude's wearing
cowboy.
a 10-gallon hat. He looks like Dale Dibadome, and he's talking about. It's all like a
And a
catchable
witch.
moment.
A gay cowboy and a witch start an argument at a party, and it's like, how does this joke go? I don't know. Who cares? What are they talking about? Just Milo, I love you. You should have just walked away. She doesn't deserve your time, baby boy.
It is entertaining.
I enjoyed
though.
it.
It is
enjoyed it.
entertaining.
This is what I'm talking about. This is Twitter Spaces in real life. That's what
Yes.
that was.
Yes.
Because that is exactly how Twitter Spaces go. Well, first off, you said this is this is what did you say, Hollywood for ugly people. Milo's not an ugly
reality
guy.
TV for ugly people.
Milo's not handsome. He's kind of I wouldn't call him handsome. He's
Thousands of men disagree with you. So
Okay, listen,
But
black guys will fuck anybody.
We're talking about Hollywood, right? He's wearing a bolo tie and a 10-gallon hat. Okay, like he's literally just entered the green room costume section and then came back out to argue with Laura Loomer. It's theater.
It's crazy.
It's theater, and it's a lot of
It
fun.
is.
It is. It's
is.
hilarious.
It's
and
bizarre.
I don't dislike them for it even a little bit. Actually,
Here.
I like them more for it.
All right, let's get into less salacious shit. Let's talk about Vivek's take on the H-1B immigration
Less
issue.
salacious.
Let's talk
Yeah,
about the
right.
disproportionate representation in our government by India.
So he says the you can read it.
The reason tech companies often hire for now you can read it if you want.
You son of a
You
bitch.
didn't do that.
Tonight, as President-elect Donald Trump is preparing for a widespread immigration crackdown when he takes office 25 days from now, we're seeing a crack between some of his top advisors and his MAGA base. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are both facing major blowback from their own supporters for not only backing, but encouraging offering more visas to highly skilled foreign workers. Over the Christmas holiday, Musk posted this online saying, think of this like a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit top talent wherever they may be.
Head bobble in the
The reason
twist.
top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s, and likely longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. All right, let's pause it there before we get into the 90s pop culture references. I don't disagree with that. I don't.
I don't.
I disagree.
Either, but
We would never put Native Americans in high positions. But
he's not
go on,
Native
Tom.
American. He's
No,
an
he
Indian.
said it.
This
He
is-
said we would never put Native Americans.
you-
He just meant like American people.
pull the tweet back up,
Native
please,
born.
because it's like
Native born.
it's insulting. Every sentence I read is just like, you know where you fucking come from, Vivek? Okay,
Oh, see,
it's like
he doesn't come. He was born in Ohio.
The
no,
length
he's
of
an
that
immigrant
skull,
dog.
I doubt it, dude. I
Yeah.
doubt it.
It's
If
just
he
crazy.
was in the
He
Serpent Mountains
was.
in Ohio.
He was born in Ohio in 1985. That's the truth. Okay.
Okay,
But what
Do
is
you
he?
know-
What's he advocating for? This is what I'm saying. In the end, he advocates for what's like, well, that's why Indians need to take these engineering jobs. But he's talking about our American culture being mediocre. Then
Yes.
he's saying, what's this? Where is it right here? Tough questions. Oh, all right, all right. It's just crazy. The key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. And this is a long tweet. You're talking about culture. We've seen way too many videos of India to be fooled in general. And again, whatever. Put aside the fact that he's Indian or that I think it's pretty cool what he's saying here. I also think it's cool what Elon Musk did, where this is his platform. Elon Musk, he's going to play by the rules. Those are his people. He has this in-group preference. And yeah, I make the case for that as well. So my people are American. I have that in-group preference. I'll make the case for Americans taking Americans' jobs. And I actually have like a very good example for that here, not just to be like fucking MAGA all the way, but I live near this old people home called The Villages. And when you walk through it, it's a fucking fantasy land. Do you know why, Clint? Every restaurant that they have here requires that you buy produce and goods from The Villages farms. Okay? So all that stuff goes right back around. Every single business is very incestuous. If you want to open business here, you have to feed our community. And they're feeding the community in 3 different ways, depending on the business type. And then I walk through the streets and I go, this place is wonderful. It's like it's the closest thing to a utopia that you're going to get. Always clean, flowers put in the...
Basically, it's Disney World for elderly people.
Yeah. Right, but I go there. Like, there's other people that walk through there. It's not just like for them. You can go through the squares and
I love it. It's nice.
It was awesome.
The streets are clean. There's no, it's awesome.
Are you guys not seeing this argument,
David,
though?
Is there anything to say though that we're keeping everything in house? Like, we're not letting you go outsource stuff. So then look at this community, how it's grown and how beautiful it is because they continue to feed their businesses and themselves, and everything kind of stays within.
That model's winning, and the culture that we exist in right now tells you that model is obsolete, that we have to integrate as much variety as possible and, make sure everybody has a slice of the pie and everybody gets to contribute. And it seems that homogenization actually creates a much better system.
Also,
that's the Nick Fuentes argument. Anyways, go ahead.
I'd like to address his argument about the culture. Again, I understand what he's saying about the culture. In a lot of ways, American culture does kind of suck. Watching Boy Meets World and going to the mall and doing these things like this, all this, 80s rhetoric.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really happen anymore. Here, let me read the rest of it for the audience that isn't familiar. He says, a culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World, which I totally do, or Zack and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell. Who the fuck didn't? Zack and Slater were obviously better than Screech. Screech was a punching bag idiot. Or Stefan over Steve Urkel. Steve Urkel sucked. Stefan was cool as hell. In Family Matters, will not produce the best engineers.
Clint, who creates those? Who creates these kind of Hollywood movies and TV shows? And why would they?
I'm not doing this.
Okay, I'm just. Well, he's right though. He's right. He's right. Where you're venerating the wrong people, but like it's intentional.
But though, I mean, you can make a cool nerd though. Like you can make a nerd that you look up to. It's eluding me of an example. There are examples in Hollywood that have done this, but these are like this was when nerds were still being kind of degraded. Nerds, like, what's the Big Bang Theory? Aren't they?
Yeah, they're being venerated now. And by the way, we've learned that was actually the wrong move because we've championed a bunch of weaklings and nerds, and now we've wondered why masculinity is all but absent from our culture.
Thank you. This is actually the bigger point I wanted to make. And as you know, I don't often disagree with Vivek, much to Owen Benjamin's consternation, but I actually think it's not a good thing to venerate the nerds. I think that the nerds, particularly in the natural hierarchy of humanity, if you're weak and unable to defend yourself, you're going to deal with some abuse. Now, that is not good, and I'm not advocating for that. But I will say this. It is not advisable for a civilization to be ran by those people because at the end of the day, they are seeking vengeance for past injustice.
That's what we've learned.
Yeah, well, exactly. The Anthony Fauci's of the world, like, do you think that he was cool in high school? Probably not. And he's become an absolute demon as an adult. Mm-hmm. You don't want people like that in positions of power. I stand by that. As much as I'm not a fan of the high school quarterback, he's kind of a douche too. He would probably be a better president than the head of the science class. Right. Just being honest. That's the truth.
I think so. I think when you're a child and you're out on the outside of the in-group, it does create a resentment in you. And then we see a lot of those people. We gave that a chance, culturally speaking. We championed the nerd for probably the past decade, maybe 15 years. And I think that it's been an experiment that's gone on long enough that we can see the fruits of that experiment. And it is that these people actually harbor a tremendous amount of resentment And in the many ways that they are weak physically and confidently and in their personality, it actually manifests as really undesirable traits in other aspects of their personality. We've seen this unfold, and what we've also seen is the removal of that flavor of masculinity from the West, and we have suffered greatly for it. It's why we've seen rise given to that expression of hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create bad times. It's a cycle that history, seems to display pretty obviously, and I think we're done with the experiment. We've seen what it does. It does just that. It creates hard times. Yeah, well, unfortunately, I think that the cycle is kind of unstoppable. We went through really good times, and the really good times that Vivek is lamenting were the 90s. Those were probably the best times, and I know this is because it's from my childhood. People are just going to assume that I'm being nostalgic. No, you can actually look at it. America was crushing. We had $1 trillion in debt, 1 trillion by the early 90s. That's it. Not 36, 37 or whatever it's going to be in a couple days here. And there was no other superpower to compete with. The USSR had just fallen. There was no wars other than just wars of, for funsies for the military-industrial complex. We had no threats, no fights. Economy's crushing. Social cohesion is fairly high, even though you did have the Rodney King riots and all that stuff. But racism was at a low. Are you tired of paying storage fees and exorbitant premiums for physical gold, all while it just sits there collecting dust? There's a better way to own gold. With Monetary Metals, you can earn up to 5% annually on your gold paid in gold. For the last 8 years, Monetary Metals has been paying clients between 2 to 5% on their physical gold and silver holdings, all while they enjoy free storage and insurance. Their team is full of passionate champions of liberty combined with decades of investment and banking experience, and that is exactly why I partnered with them. Imagine your total gold and silver ounces grow every month as you receive your interest payments from Monetary Metals. Check out monetary-metals.com/lockdown to learn more about putting your precious metals to work today. Again, that's monetary-metals.com/lockdown. Right. It was like when we were absolutely we were leaning into the idea that we were all different, and that's what makes us special. That was what we were being told. Yep, now it's like there is no difference and all this other crazy crap. But yeah, culturally, we were in a beautiful place too, as far as art and what was being manufactured at that time. The greatest movies, the greatest shows, all of that shit was happening in the 90s. We've since suffered tremendously. Half of the most famous influencers and people in the world, or in America at least, were black. Yeah, Michael Jordan, Oprah, Eddie Murphy. I mean, black people were fucking crushing in the 90s, and then by the time the 2000s or the 2010s roll around, we find out all of us that grew up loving black people are racist now. And it was like, fuck, what happened? But anyways, I do think that the cycle is essentially unstoppable. I think that Vivek is wrong, though, in that was indicative of the problem. I don't think that the problem is that we need to lionize nerddom. That's not worked. The way civilization normally functions is that those with small peckers end up becoming rich because they need to find a way to mate. Correct. Okay? So there's nothing wrong with that. We don't need to pretend that everyone's got a big wang. Everyone's going to find a way to compete with whatever skill set they were offered. If you were offered great looks, you're probably not going to be as hard charging as a guy who's ugly. If you have a big dong, you're probably not going to be willing to work 60 hours a week. Okay? That's how it works.
Can you pull up that picture?
Of your dong?
No, it's a picture of Clint's dong. No, it's a line. It's a dot graph chart where it's penis size versus income. At the very top right, there's just one dot, and there's Clint right there. The rest of us are just kind of in the middle.
No.
I want to ask you guys.
That's hilarious, though.
I'm surprised that you haven't seen this, and maybe I'm wrong in seeing it. So please tell me if I'm wrong. But it feels very much like the argument here is because Americans suck, because their culture is such that it is conducive to sucking. So does this not feel like it rhymes with, why is there such a, and I'm not going to go on a tangent here. I'm not going to go where you think I'm going to go, Clint, so don't worry. But I'm just saying, why is there a disproportionate representation of Jews in our politics? Why is there a disproportionate amount of Jews in the Nobel category, Nobel Peace Prize category?
And you were absolutely going where I thought you were going to go.
Okay,
go
fine. I lied to you. So the answer is because, and it boils down to, this is what everybody's become pretty comfortable with, they're better. Intellectually speaking, they're better. And it's just a wild premise to put out there because
super
racism...
demoralizing.
Yeah, racism in one... You're never allowed to say white people are superior intellectually than insert race, right? You're not allowed to say that. Spirit fingers. But they've said that to us, and they've said it on a grand scale, and...
Now they're saying it about Indian people, which is so insulting to me.
Okay, so this is where I want you to tell me that I'm wrong. Is this not the same shit just repackaged by a different race? It's Indian people are excelling in these fields because they're better than Americans, in this case because of their culture, but it's the same thing as we are disproportionate award-winning Nobel Peace Prize people because we're smarter than you. It's the same shit, is it not?
Well, here's my perspective on it. So I think that first generation or second generation immigrants just tend to be of better stock than domestic born Americans simply because they are the type of people that, especially legal immigrants that went through that process, because it's fucking hard as hell. If you get here and then you have kids, like, you have already demonstrated that you're the type of person that's trying to achieve something that's better than basically everybody else you know.
Right.
And this is not a racial or cultural thing as much as it is like this is just how Americans are built. Like
it kind of can be. I want to bolster your point here. It kind of can be a racial and cultural thing because to Clint. So what I'm saying is in boxing, you can see this where a lot of times it'll be like a downtrodden race who has a lot of trouble economically in their country. They come to America, they become boxing phenoms. You will see the Italians dominate for a period. You saw the Irish dominate for a period. You see black people dominate for a period. You see Mexico dominate for a period. The baton gets passed, and it seems to be a correlation with how hungry you are as a people.
It's irrefutably true. And I love those people. Yeah. That's what I'm a huge fight fan too. I'm a huge boxing fan. I love to see the underclass find a way to become one of the richest, most famous people in the world. I think that's fucking awesome. So I apply that to Indians too, because the Indians that get here are the creme de la creme usually of their nation. There's one, it's true. Hold on. I know you're shaking your head. It's true though. There's 1.5 billion people in India. If you don't think that there's some extraordinarily impressive people that come out of India, you're out of your fucking mind. Vivek happens to be one of them, even though he was born in Ohio, you racist.
I don't think he's that impressive, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, you're wrong. But the point being, I think that the first generation migrant that gets here, be they Chinese, be they Indian, be they from wherever, they tend to have offspring that are harder studying, harder charging, more serious people than the domestic-born population. Therefore, the domestic-born population has a hard time competing with them. That's not to say that these people are superior to Americans as much as like the cultural framework of the first and second generation migrant is superior to that of the domestic-born. Therefore, they end up outperforming, which, by the way, is a complete annihilation of the thesis that America is racist, because first and second generation immigrants tend to kick ass here. So that's my
how come my fucking tech doesn't work? How come when I call a number I can't get a fucking answer?
Because I just said
from somebody.
1.5 billion people in India. Not everybody in India is great. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm saying the creme de la creme. Think about what a sample size of the 0.01% most intelligent, hardest working, brilliant people that come out at a 1.5 billion. Think about how fucking smart those people must be to be
there's so many more, Clint. There's so many more that are.
I'm not arguing that all people in India are awesome. That's not what I'm doing.
What I'm saying is though is that like what he's making is this like weird general sweeping term where I'm looking at the immigrants that come here and it's like, well, look at these Mexicans. They build great houses. No, they don't. They suck. They don't. My parents' door doesn't close because they had some fucking Mexican frame it out. It's like,
what does Sam
this is
Tripoli
not-
say? He's like, they're great at volume, bad at the details, you know? And
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just not quality work. When you look at shit in America before, and it was like, this was quality. It's not like that anymore. And you know what? Maybe the current generation is lazy because, like as we've gone through that cycle. But how much of that laziness is because like maybe the upper class got nervous and started importing people from the third world because we're going to need more workers. I don't know. Give these people a shot. Let Americans do what they have to do first.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that last part, that like my focus is on Americans. I am not libertarian globalist type. Like my interest is in my family, my community, then my state, then my country, and then the world. Like concentric circles going outwards, right?
This is what Jews do, and it's very smart. But you go to Borough Park, they have their own pizza shop.
Is there anything I can say that you guys won't tie back to Jews?
No,
anyways, keep going.
It's what I respect about them. It's Jews. Black people don't do this, which is why their culture is falling apart and why they are the way they are. But Jews, they'll go to their own Jewish pizza shop, garbage pizza, but they'll go and they'll frequent that pizza store and give them business. Right. And it's like, even though it's not as good, they still buy it, and it's not as good. It's called pizza bagel.
And they're doing that.
They're
They're homogenizing their own communities, right? They're creating a feedback loop.
There's a fucking thought.
Feedback loop.
Imagine.
Yeah, Killer Mike, the rapper, talks about this all the time. Is like that's what he wants to do. He wants to have, because they always talk about how I forget, what was the black capital of America? Was it Atlanta? There was some town. Yeah, Black Wall Street. Where was that? I don't remember where it was. Anyways, so he's saying we got to support our businesses. We got to support our community. Like that's. Right. But here's the problem, and here's what I don't like about this, and this is kind of controversial, but you guys will probably agree. White people in America are the only ones that don't do that.
I was going to say it. You should have just let me say it. I'll lie on the bullets.
Go ahead.
I'll lay on it. Well, I was just going to say, no, you're absolutely correct. If that is a smart thing to do for the future of your community, but if white people engage in that, it's seen as overt racism.
Right.
And that is
racism it's not, hold on. It's not just seen as overt racism. It's illegal because of the Civil Rights Act. You fucking can't do that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a really solid point, and you have to ask yourself too when it comes to this, whatever degree of representation in high levels of influence, whether or not it's engineering or politics, the representation by, let's say, India, for example. Now, how it happens is open for speculation, but you have to ask yourself this question. It's like we've seen what it does on a cultural level, on just a civilian level, when you integrate or attempt to integrate vastly different cultures into one another. What ends up happening is they also homogenize. They become their own little in-groups, and there is the result of which is a lack in cultural cohesion, right? If you want to talk about the fabric that makes up America, the fabric is full of holes because everybody is isolated and they're remaining in their own groups. They're not integrating with one another. We have this illusion that that's what happens, but you need only look at like Chinatown as an example of that. Like they will pull away and they will create their own self-sustaining in-groups where they don't actually have to interact with the rest of America at large. That happens on a civilian level. What happens when it starts happening on a political level and people start bringing over, and this is always been the issue, right, with America, but of course, if you said anything about this, you were racist and intolerant, but it's like you have a completely different belief system. Give me a second there. A completely different belief system that is at odds with if you believe this is a Christian nation. And not only are they integrating on a civilian level, but now they're integrating on a political level. And that you're going to see the ramifications of that. You're going to see that culture bleed in from above and below now. And I'm not saying that that's good or bad. I'm just saying expand on that. Where does that lead?
Yeah, well, this is my concern, actually, is that because white people are the only people that don't do that, it does seem as if it's a competitive disadvantage. Like, you're going to lose because you are not collaborating to look after one another, whereas everybody else is.
And any attempt to do that is, like you said, Clint, seen as racism, even illegal on a business level.
Exactly. So I just want to be very clear. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, because I don't identify with all white people and go like, yeah, you're my brother. Like, that's not how I look at the world. And unfortunately, a lot of other races do. And I it's like, because I was born into that mindset, or schooled into it, I don't know which. I'm very hesitant to go down that line of thinking, and I think that it's extraordinarily divisive. But at the same time, if you're not going to demand the same sort of colorblind worldview of minorities, well, then you are mandating that white people start to do the same. Right. And I like, this is going to be a very controversial thing for me to say, but I think I'm absolutely fucking right, or I would not be saying it. This is how countries fall apart, especially a country that's built on diversity. If you don't demand the same thing of the minorities as you do of the majority, well, then you're fucking destroying your country. Right. Okay? You can't have different rules for different groups of people. That was the whole idea of America, is that it was going to be, like, that's the thing.
You adhere to American culture. You're whatever you are second to being an American first.
And justice is blind, but also so are we. Like, that's how we looked at it. Everybody was gonna, if you work hard, it doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter what your religion is, doesn't matter what your sex is, you're gonna fucking make it in America. If you, like, assuming you don't have bad luck. That is dying on the vine, because you only apply the rules of colorblindness to the majority. And I just think it's actually racist too, because you're permitting minorities to treat white people poorly, whereas we would never allow for white people to do that in reverse. And in fact, we do not allow it.
White people can't be victims of racism because power structures.
Exactly.
White people have always had power, and thereby have always been the enforcers of racism.
Which is why critical theory is so dangerous. Go ahead, Tom.
Right.
Look at that, like, so take a step back from it now. Like, we've described the old guard of, the government, and I suppose what's supposed to be coming in, but it's really more of the same. Like, if these punishments with the blue check mark is actually about, it's the same thing. It's like white people stepping out of line. What I saw here was, I saw Vivek say that his people should get these jobs. He's looking out for people that look like him. And I'm like, I fucking get it. I don't look like you that much, but I'm not like you. I'm not Indian. I'm more Indian. I'm more American. I identify as American. So that's my team. But if that's your team and that's kind of what you're telling me, fine. I don't think you should be in American politics. Get the fuck out of here with that. But that's where you're at. I get it. On the other hand, you have the enforcement level that's slapping these people on the hand, you took away their blue check mark, but that's not the only thing that he did, that Elon Musk did. I don't know if you caught this. You probably did, Clint, with his new feature for the block button, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you get blocked by a lot of blue checks, you are essentially shadow banned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so exactly. So, and then he also said, like, he said a couple of things that were like antagonistic, like, you can say what you want on here, after he got ratioed to death by a 50 follower account for saying the truth, or whatever the truth as that person sees it, and everybody else, which is, it gotta hurt, man. You own the platform, you're doing all this shit, you're moving culture, and then there's still lines you just can't move, Elon.
You would imagine that you speaking truth to power, if power happens to have a blue check mark, would rub them the wrong way. You might get blocked by a lot of powerful people with blue check marks for saying things that make them uncomfortable, but that's not allowed here now.
And then add to that all it requires is a foreign government or our own government to have a bot network of verified accounts that goes around suppressing narratives that they don't want to see. Hello? Right. You can't fucking do this. This is a terrible idea. It should have taken 10 seconds for someone to say, hey, this is going to be a problem. Don't go down this path. But apparently that didn't happen. And I find that fascinating. And it does seem as if it's a kind of a backdoor way of narrative control, which is exactly what Elon has espoused the antithesis to. So I don't know.
I think he's engineering culture. That's what I see. I see the man selectively engineering culture, moving little things here and controlling the flow of dialogue and narratives.
Well, let's just be honest, though. If you let us talk freely, you're not going to be able to control the narrative, and you're not going to be able to control the culture, because that's why our entire sphere has excelled over the past, since Elon bought it, which is why I'm so appreciative of him.
How much did he buy it for?
44 billion.
44 billion.
Yeah, 44. Do you think that a dude spent $44 billion on a platform because of altruism? Or does he seek to be the most powerful man with his finger on the culture that's ever existed?
He brought himself a position in the White House with this move. You don't
We've been
buy that
looking at
position
him
in
through
Tesla.
the lens. We've been looking at him through this lens of like what a good guy he is, and it's been a lot of fun. And there's been a lot of great things that have come about culturally and politically because of Elon Musk. But we need to get our heads out of our asses in assuming that somebody operating on that high of a level with that much money at stake is doing this for our benefit. When has that ever happened?
Well, it's rare. It's basically a John Galt argument from Atlas Shrugged that he's doing it to the benefit of humanity. And look, I am a believer in liberty, and as a billionaire, I would do shit like this. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility that someone with my worldview would rise to the highest level of wealth and do something like that. But that is not me saying that that's what this guy is. I don't know.
And also, that's not saying that you'd be able to execute that other powerful people wouldn't stand in your way and, say something.
Well, because of my belief system, I almost certainly wouldn't be able to do what Elon has done because I am a danger.
I want to go back to this idea where we're talking about what happens when there's a overrepresentation on a civilian level and a political level. The huge problem with that isn't necessarily that we're all going to be worshiping Shiva, because that was a lot of the thing, right? It's like they're going to come here and next thing you know, Christianity is going to be out the window. We're going to be worshiping some other deity from some other foreign country. I don't think that that's necessarily the issue here. I think that the issue is what's become glaringly obvious to us over the past 4 to 5 years. There are major players who seek to subvert our country, who have ill will towards, our principles, our values, our morals as a country, as a unit. If you have this, cultural fabric and it's filled with all of these holes, and those holes being the lack of cohesion from one culture to the next, that is just areas for these people who seek to subvert us to stick their fingers in and start tearing at. That lack of cohesion is hugely dangerous, because then we cannot act as one sound mind with one shared set of principles, one shared sort of set of values and morals.
That's how you create a generation of people who don't have much hope, who aren't great workers, who aren't building the things that their fathers have built. You start with this bullshit. You start tearing at the fabric of society and what they're doing it now. Like that Kim Kardashian video, Macaulay Culkin at the end, he's the guy that's basically filmed this Kubrick style Eyes Wide Shut party. Mufasa, you have the Mufasa now in that new movie that they released. He seems to be the bad guy and Scar seems to be the good guy. So like the narrative of like these stories that we've been told are flipped on their head, and then they look back at us and they go, well, what now? Yeah. The guy that you believed in is now the bad guy. It's but like, what if we switch these roles? And it's like, you're just doing that in P. Diddy, same shit. All our idols.
I gotta point this out. Same with Michael Jackson. I gotta point this out. That is critical theory. That's exactly what they've done to the foundation of America. Yes. They say that the founders weren't, beautiful freedom fighting revolutionaries. They were in fact fucking slaveholders, and that's all they were.
They've done it to Disney too.
You will not talk about the good aspect. But this is what I'm saying with Mufasa is that you're flipping the roles. You're saying the hero is the good guy and the villain is the bad guy.
Clint, these people, demons, and I'm not saying like, any racial type, but no, I'm just saying they're literal demons. I think they're in contact with entities they can't recreate. They can only tell you the same story and pervert it. They've been doing it since invert and pervert, and then it has, but I mean, it's a profound effect if they keep playing the same move. Like, why would you change it? But I'm on to you guys.
Yeah. But look, man. Even all the conspiracy stuff aside, like I said, without cohesion in that fabric, there's just a million opportunities to set people against each other. Here's a little fire I can start because there's a hole, there's a gap in their game. It's like all of it is holes in our game. And if there's too many holes, there's too many advantages for those who seek to subvert us. And if you don't think that there are powerful groups out there that seek to subvert us, I don't know where the fuck you've been for the past 5 years.
Well, no, there's obviously powerful interests that would love to subvert us. And here's the problem. If you have too cohesive of a unit of a population, well, then you're probably going to figure out who's really running shit, because whoever's going against the cohesive unit will be instantly perceived as a threat. In this case, that would be the intel agencies, the military-industrial complex, the government, foreign governments, whatever. So how do you stop us from coming together to identify that? Well, you make us fight each other. Mm-hmm. And that's
we all become the Spider-Man meme where we're all just pointing at each other.
Exactly.
This is what's happening with the right.
And this is what I was just going to say. That's exactly what's happening with this H-1B debate. Now, I am of the opinion that, like, I'm not going to say every time there's division within a movement that's necessarily an op or necessarily a bad thing. I think this is a debate that needs to happen. It's going to test the cohesion of this new right-wing dissident movement, which consists of all the way from hardline white nationalists to libertarian nationalists. Like there's a very wide range of people, including some dissident Democrats, the RFK Jr. camp. So this is
like the big tent. It's like a libertarian big tent, but it's on the right.
It's a really big tent, man. So naturally there's going to be real disagreements, and this was naturally going to happen. I think that the timing of it's interesting. I think that before Trump even gets in the White House makes me go like, wow, where the fuck did this come from? On Christmas Day, we're tearing each other's throats apart because of H-1Bs? Like, really? So I don't know how to read it at this point, but I am of the opinion that I like open debate and I like contentious arguments. And I think a lot of this has been really high level. I've actually learned a lot. Like, I didn't know about the caps on H-1Bs. In fact, I had to delete a tweet yesterday because I asked Grok. Grok lied to me. It gave me the applications as opposed to the actual accepted, which is apparently capped at 85,000 per year. Anyways, let me give a little bit of background for this. So there's O1s, which is the highest level of athletic achievement, intellectual, business, whatever. These are the superstars that I personally, you guys may disagree, I personally want them wherever they're fucking at. I would love for them to become Americans. I want to brain drain the rest of the world. I think that gives America the best chance of competing in the next generation, the next century. I think that particularly because I think the AI race is so important, you definitely want to fucking take the smartest people and bring them over here. Especially if we're headed to war, you want to have the fucking smartest people. Operation Paperclip, right?
Exactly. Let me just say this though. I want to put an asterisk on that. You said I want them to become Americans. That's super important. But look at America. What is America? There's no cohesive culture. So when they come, they bring their own. Yeah, there's no loyalty from them to us. They're just here collecting a check and using our economy, and then who knows what else.
You're absolutely right, and this is the point that I was making earlier: is that if you don't demand of minorities, which includes immigrants, obviously they would naturally be a minority. If you don't demand of them the same thing you do of the majority, the domestic-born Americans, and particularly domestic-born white people, well, then you are asking for trouble. So I am of the opinion that, yes, I am not opposed to all immigration. I think that what has made America special is that it is trend-setting, just lunatics that are willing to go out and do something that very few people on Earth would be willing to do, which is leave their country and travel thousands of miles across the ocean, particularly before fucking air travel existed. These people were lunatics. My great-grandfather was a fucking savage. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. I would have never done that. That's like crazy shit to do. Yeah, totally uncozy. But then again, I think he was fleeing Germany during World War I, so it probably made sense. But anyways,
infinitely less cozy.
so much less cozy than me.
Isn't it funny though, Clint? Because it's like the thing that you're asking is very reasonable on its face, but we've been recently handed this like engineered culture that took a long time to engineer, by the way. It was engineered by politics. It was engineered by the feminist movement. It was engineered by Hollywood and everything else that's been just feeding us this garbage to the point where a very reasonable ask is now determined to be racist. That's a racist thing to ask people.
It's also why I didn't really jump down Vivek's throat or Elon because I was busy on Christmas Day doing something else a lot more fun. But it is the reason why when you see these things, like this is my knee-jerk reaction, and I'm like, what the, like when I hear people using this sort of language, I'm like, what are you getting at? What are you getting at? Because underneath this, like I've seen this kind of ploy before, and at the end of it, it's usually some kind of weird psyop from the left. So where are you
I also don't like the demoralizing language. It's like, have we not beaten down white American men enough for the past, half a decade or something like that? Like it's gotten to the point where it's disgusting, and it's given rise to, if there ever was a time where racism in America was a trope, it wasn't real, right? It was like we went through this period of time not long ago where we were so overusing a word that it diluted the actual cases of like real vicious racism, right? Yep. And so
Tower Gang at tonight 9/11.
Tower Gang.
If you're into that.
But now it's just gotten to the point where that word means nothing anymore, and we're still beating white dudes over the head with it. And now here comes this guy who, can I paraphrase, seems to be more or less saying, the reason we are winning is because you are not good.
That's what it seems like.
Look, I understand why that would be offensive, but that has been the conservative argument for years. That basically academia is churning out subpar midwits that think that they're fucking awesome and they're useless. And let me tell you, as someone who used to run a company, that's true. The vast majority of young people are fucking terrible. It's funny
because academia is also pumping out that aforementioned culture that we just described. That was the epicenter of it.
But there is merit to his argument. I think the reason that people are rejecting it is because he is Indian American.
Yes.
And he is just a bad messenger for that particular message. But it is true, and every conservative has said this forever, is that you have all of these people that now rule over us, this fucking midwit class that comes out and enters HR and enters the government, but they come out of Ivy League schools, so they think that they're fucking brilliant, but they have been poisoned. Their minds are poisoned, and they are not capable of actually contributing to a functioning, growing civilization. In fact, they are destructive. They are in their core. They have imbibed of Marxist ideology and critical theory, and they're now fucking a danger to the rest of us. So this is why I actually oppose Donald Trump's position, which is funny because the people that are most upset with Vivek also are just usually lionize and love Donald Trump. He came out 6 months ago and said he wants to staple a green card to every college degree for any immigrant that comes here and gets that education. And I'm just like, fuck that. I want to deport the people that go to Harvard. And I'm not talking about immigrants. I'm saying American born. They are probably the most dangerous people in this country. So I just think that my concern is that the alt-right, dissident right, Nick Fuentes circle, they are not focused enough on the underlying problems domestically as much as they are the border. Like they and I understand the concerns with the border, and I'm not saying that they're wrong to have them, especially when you have fucking 10 to 20 million people come in a single presidential term. That's insane. But they do not harp nearly enough on the fact that domestic-born Americans, including white people, are crazy people. And they can't possibly excel, and they can't contribute to the civilization because they have been brought up through public school and then put through academia, which is controlled by Marxists, and they fucking come out at the other end useless. And no one talks about that.
Thank God they're only taking minorities in these higher positions now, because they'll start coming out retarded. But it gives me a little bit of hope, and it's like a weird racist hope, right? Because I think Ann Coulter said it about Vivek Ramaswamy. She's like, you'll never be president. She told him to his face. It's like,
she said, I would not vote for you because you're Indian.
And she's right. And she's 100% right. Now, the guy's a smooth talker. He has great hair, like real high up, but real nice hair. I mean, he's got it all. But the fact is like you have this different look. So Donald Trump comes and says basically the same thing that you're saying. But I don't want to hear from, and I don't want to hear it from Vivek Ramaswamy either. Change your name to something more English, and maybe it would go.
Yeah, do it.
It's just true.
There's an Indian guy that owns the corner store.
If his name was Vic Johnson, I think you'd probably be cool.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And aren't you glad? That's a survival instinct. Whatever survival instinct that was beat out of us in the last 10 years, there's still some left. So when I see these people, even though they're like far on the right and they are annoying, they're groypers, a lot of these like white supremacists, I'm like, thank God.
Somebody's holding the line.
Yeah, some hold the line. Like you guys go a little too far, but like before we were doing the opposite and just giving up. And I'm not white. I don't really have a dog in this fight, but I am American. And I think that in the end, that majority that is America is kind of like what it's supposed to be.
Well,
that's why
this is the point that Myron Gaines of Fresh and Fit he makes regularly, but he was also making on the Spaces I was on last night. Another Spaces I was on. I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
This guy, spaces.
But he's. I don't remember which nation his relatives come from, but
FBI,
I
think.
No.
Isn't his dad a Fed?
I don't know, but he's Black American, whatever. But he's saying basically like I need white people to keep this country together. Like y'all are the majority, and I want I love America because of that, and I want to keep it that way. That's his argument. Like, and I think he's sincere. I just wanted to point out real quick that like I think that the Groyper thing, the white nationalist thing, is all a natural consequence of it's a total reaction to the system as it has existed for the past 20 years.
Yes.
Like, so what bothers me is that everyone's so mad at Fuentes. It's kind of like being mad at Trump. Now that I think about it, it's like
Trump is a natural solution.
He's a symptom. He's not a disease.
He's a symptom. There you go.
Nick Fuentes is not the disease. He's a symptom of it. Do you not understand this? It's that you shamed young white men
what I am.
for decades.
I wouldn't be here. Like
he's a symptom, but with more conviction.
You've created, in a very small sense, but I wouldn't be doing this, and neither would you, Clint. The culture created this. This is your fault if you don't like it. Sorry.
No, that's a great point. I wouldn't be a political commentator if you didn't lock down the fucking country. You idiots. You created me. Don't blame me.
There's something strange about this. And when I see something strange, I get a weird vibe. I have to put on the conspiracy hat. It's the only thing that I could do in these instances. And when I look back at the way that Twitter has moved this cultural conversation, to me, it has this thing that doesn't quite feel organic. And we've already explored this idea of whether or not Elon Musk is kind of putting his finger on the scale one way or another. I can't imagine he's not. It would be, why wouldn't you? So it wasn't long ago that Twitter was on fire because of India. It wasn't long ago that account Barry was going hyper viral daily to the point where he got his account removed. And all of a sudden, Indians started working together and creating Discord groups where they were trying to take down accounts. They were taking down Leonardo Joni's account. It was one of the most viral things that gripped Twitter for about a week. And now look where this conversation has gone. I'm sorry, dude. That doesn't feel, and I'm not saying I have an answer for that. That does not feel organic. Look what we just went through with Barry and the virality.
It feels like, so yeah, like now that that's very conspiracy and very meta, but it's like we've created this emotion, and also just the videos. I mean, I shared the videos like, put your hand in my food, go ahead, put your hand in my food, like, they be doing this. It's crazy.
Black Twitter found out about India. And I have been having such a good time watching black people make fun of street food in India. It's David, the greatest shit.
This is a decades-old battle. This goes back. I mean, it's
really?
Every couple of years. Yeah, black people
I just
fight
discovered
the
it recently. It's so funny.
Oh, dude, 2 years ago, there was, It Smells Crazy in there. And was like, it was a gang war between India and African Americans. It was fucking awesome.
But I look at that and I don't feel like that's organic.
The culture has created this or pushed this in some sort of way, and it's hilarious. It's got all the viral potentiality, and it was allowed to go viral, and it is allowed to stay up there. Now we have been presented this argument almost. It makes me feel like a double switch, like they want us to choose the America first kind of argument. The response from Elon, I don't get it. I think the response from Elon might not, I don't think it's more about people disagreeing with him. I think it's about the way that they did. I don't think he's ever been through this. And there is a sort of mental stress that you get when you're on Twitter, especially if you're addicted to it, and then you get dogpiled. Like, you're wrong.
Sucks. Yeah.
It sucks.
No, it sucks. I've never been wrong, but I have been dogpiled.
Me too. Never been wrong, but I've been dogpiled, and I don't like it. It's like I put the phone down and I'll walk away for the rest of the day because I'm like, I know how it works. It'll blow over, but it's just like, I can't look at it right now because it's literal mental anguish.
Oh yeah, and if you engage with it, which Elon was and did, it is backbreaking, especially if you're used to being really beloved, which Elon by and large on X is, and also Vivek is too. This is really the first time that Vivek has had any pushback or significant pushback in the broader. I mean, there's fringe pushback, obviously, but I was amazed by it. Here, let me just keep wrap up this tweet from him because I want people to understand the full story. So he says, fact. Fact. I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity, and their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. This is where it gets. I mean, it's already kind of off the rails with these 90s references, but this is where I lost it. He says, more movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends. Well, Friends, I
do agree with that.
I agree with that.
But a masterpiece.
Have you guys seen Whiplash?
I loved it. I thought it was tremendous.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie, but just keep in mind what it is. It's a guy who's pathologically obsessed with learning how to drum, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And he's like a car crash. Look, I'm just saying.
Clearly autistic,
What fucking year does this guy think it is?
I don't know. This is weird. The references are strange. What's going on?
He's talking about a better time, really.
It's like he maxed out all the information in that long cranium back in like 2016, and that was pretty much it for him. There's no more room for anything else.
He says more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers. He's definitely not living in this generation because, as far as I can tell, I don't think kids are doing sleepovers. I don't think kids hang out with each other at all. That's actually a big problem.
my kid's friends' parents are going to try and trans him. He's not having sleepovers.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think kids play outside. I don't think they have sleepovers. I think he's talking about, like, I don't know. This is not the generation we're talking about. Anyways, he goes, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall.
Can I stop
No one hangs out at the fucking mall anymore.
But I want to, let me interject for a second here. This was the worst possible game plan from a dude who is wildly intellectual and seemingly has his finger on the cultural pulse to then attack nostalgia as if that was going to work out is an insane move. I don't think...
He's basically describing Stranger Things and saying Stranger Things sucked. And it's like, no, Stranger Things for kids was awesome.
You should reply to him and be like, Stranger Things was a great series.
Yeah. This feels weird, though. To me, it just feels like a wild miscalculation. One that even I wouldn't make. It's like I would never think that it would be a good idea to attack the things that are beloved and nostalgic to a people.
But you're right. And obviously, like, he expended political capital with that message, and he lost some support. There's a lot of people that now really don't like Vivek. I'm not one of them. I still think at the core of it, the argument he's making is valid, that if you want America to win the next century, you're going to need to continue the practices that brought in the best of the brightest that the world has to offer in order to do so. That does not mean that I want to continue with H-1Bs. I think the O-1s are awesome because they are truly hard to get. These are the Victor Wembanyama's, the fucking 7'5" freaks that come across and they totally revolutionize the basketball game or the NBA. That, like, I want all of those people to become Americans. I think that's fucking fantastic. The H-1Bs seem to be a kind of a convenient workaround for what amounts to indentured servitude. That these like middling Indian dudes or Chinese people, they get a job with a corporation that if they lose that job, they're deported. So these people they work endless hours, they get paid dog shit, and that's like, it's just...
you can't risk getting fired at all.
And you can't risk getting fired or else you get ejected back into your third world country, and you're like, I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to do... yes, boss, I'll work fucking 20 hours a week, I'll sleep on my lunch.
Get these motherfuckers out of here. Get them out of here. Like, again, I agree what you're saying. I agree with what he's saying. I think he's saying it with a brown face, so that's why it doesn't go over. And I don't like it. But yeah, no, get these guys. If they're middle of the tier people, like, get the fuck out of here. If you're elite, yeah, I understand making an exception for you. And the white people saying like, no is no. I'll say no is no, but then yeah, obviously if we're presented with a star player, you're like, but come on. Like, we'll change the rules a little bit.
Like, do you not want Victor Wembanyama to be an American? This French freak? Yes, of course you do.
It's fascinating that we've got.
You got to give the American kids a shot, like, to do these menial jobs. They're just basically like button pushers. You know, that's what these people are doing. They're showing up for work and button pushing, and they're not doing anything special. The biggest problem, and this I've made this argument before to open borders libertarians, and they will not hear me on it, but I'm absolutely fucking right. Illegal immigration destroyed entry-level jobs for American-born kids.
Yes.
It destroyed it. You do not see fucking any people, like, everybody I knew in high school, everybody worked fast food. We worked the grocery stores. We were getting the carts, gas station. All of us did. This generation, almost none of them do. Right. And it's like, you don't think that's a fucking problem? You don't think that work ethic that you formulate when you're a young adult that carries on, that teaches you not just work ethic, but also jobs you don't want to have, so you can kind of reorient as you're going to college and be like, hey, do I want to fucking work with my mind, or do I want to, hammer shit for the rest of my life?
I don't know what
like, if you don't have that first step on the ladder, you are fucking dooming these kids. And that's exactly what we've done for the past 20 years as we've allowed for increasing illegal immigration year after year. And as maybe these people aren't from California and they haven't seen it, but I'm telling you, it has completely absorbed 90% of entry-level jobs in these states that are especially border states. It's a tragedy.
For a guy with the brown face and a red dot to then look and say it's because Boy Meets World is insulting. It's like, well, it's from years of this policy. Yeah, sure, the culture does contribute to this in some sort of way, but that's like the sprinkling on the cake, man. We bake this.
I think to David's point, it's like if he had really emphasized, which I think he should have, was that the ladder has been pulled up for a huge percentage of young white men in this country, and they happen to be the majority, or at least the plurality demographic is still young white men in America, and you've just said, "Fuck you." You're racist, and you're the problem, and you're basically the bane of our existence as a country. And then, oh, you don't get married, you don't have kids, oh, you don't make as much money as your father did or your parents did. You're such a failure in every regard. But here's the reality: the ladder was pulled up because of DEI policies and affirmative action policies that made college admittance more challenging, that made getting into corporate America more challenging. It's like you've put road stops in front of them every step of their lives, and then you go, why aren't you as good as your parents? And they have to look in the mirror and say, if they're not, if they don't understand how the system's been manipulated, many of them say, I don't know why. Why am I not doing as well as my dad did? And that hurts. That hurts any young man that wants to achieve what their parents did before them. And it's like, you think that they're going to just eat that? Like, sure, some of them eat it and they become suicidal, right. Or others go the other direction. They go, fuck you. And they figure out, all of the shenanigans that have been played to actually hurt them and put them at a deficit. And then they become gripers. And it's like, this is my point, is that if you don't actually just be honest about this stuff, if you don't stop the shame game of, oh, I can't believe that you're this white nationalist shit. It's like, if you don't actually deal with what created this phenomenon, well, it's only going to grow. And that feeds directly into the system that the state is actually trying to work against, which is bigger three-letter agencies, bigger spying, bigger, gun crackdowns, speech crackdowns, censorship. It's like, you don't want any of that, right? I don't. So how about we deal with the underlying problems that is creating the issue that is allowing for the state to metastasize? Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
Instead, now we're in this place where the stage has been set. There was kindling, and now we've got a full-blown fire. And that kindling was like all of this resentment of a racial variety, right, for all the reasons that you just mentioned, that was sort of boiling up underneath the American cultural surface. And now I feel like we're in this place where, I know I keep alluding to it, and you have to forgive me, there's something wrong with me, but I go, it looks to me as though this really promising kindling was effectively set aflame by these little cultural moments along the way. And where we are now, it feels like this whole India conversation, like India just, got a nail in the coffin, because we were already in this place, for those of you who are on Twitter, where I guess you could say the noticing was like at this all-time high. And over the past year, I've really gotten this sensation that so much of the big cultural moments, especially the ones of the racial variety, they're organic in the sense that they've been growing. The sentiments have been growing and developing for some time, but the moments that have taken off don't feel organic to me. They feel like somebody taking advantage of this kindling having existed previously. And so I look at this as, I don't think it's a joke, man. I'm not screwing around when I say this big Barry conversation and where it was going only 2 months ago, something like that. It was gripping Twitter. It was like you would wake up and you would go, oh no, what did India do? And we've seen the way memes and virality affect the culture, and we need to be looking at Twitter X, as much fun as we're having there, very skeptically, because I think it is manufacturing high-level cultural movements. It's adding the straw to the camel's back, if you will. Yeah. That's all that it has to do.
Well, and I'm just trying to, I guess, identify the existing straw that's on the camel's back already, and being like, I'm not interested in having this camel collapse. And it's like, the camel is the country. Sorry, I'm playing off this analogy way too much. But
the camel is the country, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, if these Indians keep coming here, it's going to become camel country. No, I'm sorry. I'm just...
They don't even have camels, you fucking racist.
Wrong place.
But anyways, I think this is... Like, I'm genuinely concerned, and I think that at the end of the day, that's really why I do these Twitter spaces, is to understand the pulse a little bit better. Because like, I don't have this worldview. I am not a white nationalist. I'm not. But I really do understand the phenomenon. Like, when you have black people that basically sound like white nationalists from the 1980s, like Myron Gaines does. He sounds like David Duke or some shit. It's like, this is a phenomenon that it's no longer racial either. Like, this is just a young American man thing. Like,
Yep.
they are seeing that they are being replaced. I know I can't say that, but that's how they feel. And if you don't deal with their concerns, young men are the most dangerous people in any culture, anytime, all over the world. That's just fucking reality. And if you're going to abandon them and shame them and disenfranchise them and then
tell them that their childhood is the reason for why they suck today, everything that they loved from their childhood.
That's a huge mistake by Vivek. I don't think he meant it that way. Again, he's right in his message, just like you got to know when you can say it. I know what I can say and what I can't say and what people will be mad at because of how I'm representing myself. That's kind of tone deaf for somebody who should know a little bit better. But to the Myron Gaines thing, this is like a Pete Quinones thing. I had Merry Christmas. This has been like 3 years since he doxed you. But he said one thing, and I'll never forget. He's like, the empire's collapsing. Start building what you want to see in its stead. And a guy like Myron Gaines and Andrew Tate, we talk about this a lot. This red pill movement, they're building this thing. They've successfully seen what's wrong with men. They've positioned themselves in a way to say, follow me, young disassociated men or disaffected men, and we're going to move in this direction. And the direction they're going, young men, you don't want to go in that direction.
This is a huge problem because it's a power vacuum that's been created, and something needed to fill that wake. Something needed to step in its place, and I think the most damaging thing stepped in its place, and it's this idea that men need to be with a harem of women. Men need to be driving Bugattis. They need to be shirtless at a long table, eating dinner nightly with a bunch of other shirtless men smoking cigars.
That's all wrong.
It's all wrong. Can we just roll back to take responsibility, try to make your community better, try to better yourself, find someone, love someone, raise a child, raise a family, contribute to society, maybe strengthen your relationship with God if you believe you have a creator.
See,
I mean,
this is why I love this. This just being able to analyze this stuff and kind of because I have a large account. Whenever I go into these spaces, I'm always brought up to speak. Whichever space I'm in, I always get to talk, and that's fucking fantastic because when you have a smaller account, it's much harder to get the mic. But because of that, I get to engage with these people. I get to actually and just listen to. And it's like, it's so obvious that this phenomenon is not going away. And, the state would love to just turn them into terrorists and start to run predator drones all over the United States. Like, I shit you not. Like, I guarantee you they're already talking about that. So it's incumbent upon us, especially people that aren't white nationalists, which I'm not saying you guys are or aren't. I am not. It's incumbent upon me to fucking actually have a say in this environment to try and guide these young people a little bit as to like, hey, there's a lot of merit to what the Myron Gaines and the Andrew Tate and the Tristan Tates of the world say. But I think that their prescription may be off. Here's why. And it's like, if you want to actually help these young men and not turn them into the inverse where you have basically a Black Panther movement. Well, now you have these White Panther movement. Like, do you want that? Do you want to have this fucking militarized like Patriot Front? Jake Shields just interviewed them. I don't want that, man. I don't want to fucking live in a country that's identitarian and armed to the teeth. Like, that's how you get into really ugly civil wars. So
it's what the other side did. Like Michelle Obama did the same thing with feminists in the last 10 years. She writes a book about being an independent woman, goes on Oprah, talks about this and all that. But it's like, you're married to the strongest man in the world, the most powerful man in the world at the time. And you're telling your constituents, don't get married. Don't seek a relationship. Seek out your career. Do this and that. It's like, but you didn't do that. You're doing the opposite. And I think, Andrew Tate might be very well doing the opposite as well. And I don't know what they do in their personal lives.
I think he's like the feminist movement for men. The ways in which the feminist movement has failed women by telling them to focus on the wrong things is very similar. It rhymes with the ways in which this red pill movement is telling young men what's important.
Again, though, symptom, not the disease.
No. But what is disheartening is that we had a brief moment where that message was out there. And then something happened, and you can speculate as to what that something was, but Jordan Peterson was out there telling people to have families, to strengthen their relationship with God, to raise children, good children.
And then his life was ruined.
Yeah. Then he went to Russia, stuck on benzos, came back wearing a two-tone suit.
And
so
then
the question
stripped
becomes
of his teaching credentials. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. And to me, the question becomes, is that organic, or is there some other force steering culture? Because you look at the ones that are elevated and you look at the ones who had all that potential. I have those 2 books, 12 Rules for Life and 12 Additional Rules, Antidote to Chaos. They were tremendous. I took a lot of pointers on how to raise my son from Jordan Peterson. And now I look at that guy as a joke. And to me, it's not lost on me that somebody would have benefited from that. Somebody who didn't want to see that culture come to rise, because that culture is the antidote for chaos. That is the remedy to fixing the holes in the cultural fabric, to bringing cohesion to a United States again. That book, if everyone were to implement some aspects of that into their own lives, would fix a lot of the issues that we have. And now that guy doesn't exist.
Yeah, what I find fascinating about Jordan is that he understands the scripture and the allegories. Well, I don't know if you guys consider them allegories. I do, but
I think there is allegory within it. Yes, but there's also it's multi-leveled.
Sure, but he understands these so in depth, and he's explained them in such an eloquent way. Yeah, and he's done these deep dives with I think it's Jonathan Pageau or whatever, and yet he still isn't Christian, or at least he doesn't espouse it fully. He doesn't believe in God. I just find that, like, I can't imagine dedicating so many years of my life to understanding that, and then not coming away a believer. I think that's fascinating. What do you guys make of that?
I was in that camp for a while because I wasn't always Christian, and I was exposed to Jordan Peterson's work before I came to, epiphanies and realizations and changed my aim. And I was very much on board with that. It was only like later on that I realized, like, no, there is truly spiritual aspects that are very real, that are surrounding us at all times. And he's missing that element. Now, I can only speculate as to whether or not you have this character who is steering the culture and then gets this one very important detail drastically wrong, and the damage that does in the long run to a people. But I think it's probably a little bit easier to look at Jordan Peterson like a boxing coach who is a phenomenal teacher but cannot box themselves. Very many cases.
Interesting. That's a great comparison. He's Freddie Roach, even though Freddie Roach was a boxer. So
no, but I mean, fuck you up. But a lot of
but he's training like Manny Pacquiao and everything, and he's training like the best of the best on the planet when he himself is not quite that.
You know what's interesting too? When you go through benzo withdrawals, you get the shakes just like Freddie Roach.
Jesus.
Sorry, that's the type of fucking comparison that very few people could make, because I'm a huge boxing fan and a huge like political commentator fan.
Well, but that's my all right. Look, there is a lot of strange stuff, right? If you want to get into the conspiracies, people think that it's actually like Sacha Baron Cohen is now, whatever the case may be, is Jordan Peterson. I think it's funny, and I've seen images that I go, well, that's something to that. But the fact of the matter is, he went away for a period. He came back a dramatically different man. Something happened to Jordan Peterson that we're not privy to, and something made him pivot in a direction that forever tanked his reputation. And by the way, it's so much more than a reputation, because at the time he was, and I don't like to do this to human beings, I really don't, but he was like a beacon of hope for young men in America. He was exactly what we do not need.
Exactly what
we do not need the Tate brothers. We do not need Myron Gaines. We need who Jordan Peterson was.
I gotta say this though. I have to interject because I agree with you. I think Jordan Peterson represents a much better message to young men, particularly when it comes to the fact that he's been married for decades and decades and has a loving family, and no doubt he's a better role model.
Didn't his daughter bang Myron Gaines? Or
Andrew
Tate allegedly. I have no idea.
The worst possible outcome.
I don't like that. That's the worst criticism of Jordan Peterson. His daughter, listen, it is what it is.
Your kids are going to do whatever they're going to do. They're individuals.
Here's the point I was going to make, though. It's not, if you believe that it's an opt to destroy Jordan Peterson, you have to recognize that this is not just against Christianity. This is not just against a positive role model. This is about dispiriting young men entirely, because Andrew Tate does not represent a Christian, get married, settle down, have kids role model. Yeah, he's Muslim too now, but they still destroyed him too. So what I take away from that is,
well, I mean, looks like Jordan Peterson was
he
effectively
spent a
destroyed.
year in jail.
Yeah, but he's crushing it right now. Didn't you see him doing lat lifts on Christmas alone?
He's out doing the same thing. He's out doing the same thing he was doing before, though. Like Jordan Peterson is very much not. Now he's
a shell of a
for
man.
the Daily Wire. He's a shell of what he was before. And it's like, yeah, again, if we're going to talk about Christianity being subverted, it's like, well, now, who's the majority of white men that he's reaching in America? It would have been young. Go ahead.
But see, this is why I respect Andrew Tate more than I do Jordan Peterson. That's going to upset a lot of people. I don't give a fuck because it's true. Andrew Tate spent months and months and months in prison, and he doesn't fucking stop. He doesn't relent. He doesn't really even change his message. In fact, he fucking kind of goes harder. Yeah. That is not Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson doesn't have that in him. He is not a fighter. He said, line up, get your jab, everything else. He fucking caved every time.
Yes.
Kavanaugh hearings, he's like, step down. Trump, he's like, step down. He doesn't have the backbone in the fire, like in the heat of battle. Andrew Tate, for all of his fucking flaws, and there's plenty, he has that big time. I think that's what I like about Andrew Tate. That's the message that I hope that young men take away from a person like Andrew Tate, is that, like, even if some of these hurdles that have been put in front of the Tate brothers may have been of their own making, they still are fucking fighters to the death. Yeah. These two brothers sat in prison next to each other and said, we will sit here until we die. We don't give a fuck. And they talk about it all the time. And I'm just like, that is awesome. Like, I fucking love my brother. I could totally see, like, if the fucking system was coming after me and my brother, we'd just be like doing push-ups, fucking smoking cigars, and just like trying to bang the prison guard. Like, that's exactly what I would do with my brother if we were fucking locked up in prison. So when I see that in them, it's inspirational. That's the type of shit that, like, young men don't get that. You certainly don't get that from Jordan Peterson. So in that one arena, I like the Tate brothers better. I do.
I would say that the only way out of that for Peterson is if you were to speculate, and it's only speculation, that what he was exposed to was genuine and horrifying, and what the Tates went through was some sort of theater. But that's conspiracy, conjecture, and speculation.
I don't think so.
If you take one guy and you put him up and you lionize him and you follow everything he does, you're creating a God or a Jesus type. Don't do that with people. People are people. Yeah. But Jordan Peterson was great at what he did. His lane was perfect. And that kind of attitude, that masculine energy that Andrew Tate does bring, not like he does a lot of weird stuff, but that aspect of him, I would want my son to see that and be like, do you see that shit? Follow that. But what he says about women, that's a bad idea. Just depart from him there and follow someone else's advice.
That's why can't we get like a buff, tan, shirtless Jordan Peterson?
Gay. So
instead, can't we get a Jordan Peterson that smokes cigars and doesn't wear a two-tone suit and does drive a Bugatti? Like, I do want that, or maybe not a Bugatti, something just like a really nice classic Oldsmobile, like a 1980s something that's in really good condition. And he's putting out that instead, right? He's like, go back to nostalgia, instead of whatever the fuck we're got.
I think this is actually good. This is actually a good way to end it too. I think that your heroes are always flawed. Yes. Like, they're going to be flawed. So the important thing is to, like, that in itself is a lesson to young men, is that you're going to have to pick and choose the best aspects of your role models, because, like, Kobe Bryant was awesome and he was a unbelievable psychopath when it came to training and practicing and shooting and everything else, but he's also a bad teammate. Okay. Like, so do you want to be that guy in your life all the time? Because you're going to fucking destroy some familial bonds and friendships and shit like that. But, like, do you want to have his work ethic when you need to? Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. So, and then Jordan Peterson, do you want to understand, philosophy in a really deep level and be able to apply it and still have strength, but also be sensitive? Yes. Do you want to have the fucking animalistic fighter instincts that the Tate brothers represent? Yes. Take just a sprinkle from all of these people and then formulate the best version of yourself. And I think that I hope is what young people will do. And then also take the wit of Nick Fuentes while we're at it. All right. Anyways, I just want to upset people by saying
no, I don't even think that's upsetting. I think that was great.
Makes a lot of sense.
That's what you should be doing.
The problem comes is when they put people under a microscope, and you see it happen all the time. And it's I'm guilty of it as well, but, like, they're just people. And when you really look at them and you look at their characteristics and whatever they're representing, it's like it doesn't add up to what you built in your head. And young kids are going to do that. But I think that's why the most important message is God and Jesus Christ. Like, look up to that. Don't look up to me. Don't look up to all these other people. Like, there's already an archetype that has been well developed, and there's a story. Yes. If you want to follow that, like the perfect person, that it's there for you. If not, you've got a bunch of shitty recreations of it that will eventually lead you astray if you follow that to the logical conclusion of wherever they're bringing it. They always will. And I will too. So will Clint. Like you don't want to be like me. We're going to do something wrong. Don't do that. But before you end, Clint, I did want to say I wanted to apologize to fucking nobody. That was absolutely nobody. I'm not apologizing. I mean, you took the bait, and it is what it is.
For those that don't know, Top went to war with Tim Pool a couple days ago.
Was
that on Christmas?
It was on Christmas too.
That was
Something happened on Christmas. People lost their shit.
I ratioed Tim Pool on Christmas. Everybody.
Can I ask you before you go, Clint? You said that he was. So I sort of believe what you're saying, that he was playing along as well, which is a very stupid move to do. Number one,
I think he was.
I think a little bit, but I felt like there was
I talked to him for a half an hour after all this went down, so I
was having fun with
a lot of insight.
I was having fun. The line with the infinity pool, I said, "Can you? I don't want to be on the show, but I've never been on an infinity pool."
Here's the thing, though. If we would have been doing that to Tim IRL, like to his face, I think he would have gotten red and got mad. He doesn't seem like the dude that plays along. But for him to answer me back, it made no sense to answer me back at all. It just seemed uncharacteristic. Yeah, but then not just answer me back once, 5 times, repeat. It's like he cycled and like he called us retarded a number of times. He called us invalids. It was very funny. And everything we responded back, he threatened me. I don't give a fuck what you say. That was an odd backhanded threat. I don't know what that meant.
Can I explain it?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So the point was he had you on his show, and like if you get invited on a show and then you turn around and you blast somebody, you're not going to get invited back. Like that's natural, right? And you know this. I wouldn't like.
There are some things that are more important than being invited back. Principles, maybe?
No, of course. And that's totally fine. I'm not sure what principle Top was going after Tim for in this regard. But anyways, he was just making the point that, like, are you going to do this? And then when you don't get invited back on, use it as evidence that the Jews are controlling him. Like, that's... Yeah, I know you're going to. But he's saying it's your actions. And this is what I talked to him about, is he's saying, like, that's essentially what Candace Owens has done. Like her audience is still thriving, but she's lost all of her sponsors. But because of that, she can now turn around and say, "See, everything I'm saying is true because I lost my sponsors because everything I'm saying is true." And it's kind of the circular reasoning. Whereas maybe not everything you're saying is true. Maybe there are aspects of it that are true, but it's also not palatable for advertisers. Like,
I don't know how long you're going to drag this episode out, but listen. It started because the Babylon Bee was once again being subvertive and doing this weird wishy-washy thing where they're like, we're Christians, but fuck for the Virgin Mary and like shit like this. Tim kind of ran cover for them.
He made a joke about Krampus, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but this is we know what it is. Listen, it's also insulting. It's insulting for like the people that do understand what you're doing, and I understand you've got friends and you've got interests. Fine, but I'm gonna call you out on it when you do it. Then he plays coy. I said, hey, already on the Daily Wire payroll. If you sell, I don't give a shit. If you don't, whatever. This is a joke. He answers, and what does Santa have? Now you're playing stupid. What does Santa have to do with Krampus or the Daily Wire? Yeah, I know your audience is filled with retards, but I know what you're doing here, and you've been doing it for a while, and it's fine. This is how you get paid. Whatever. This is it also maybe what you believe. If this is what you believe, cool. I don't know what Tim Pool believes. At this point, I've stopped trying to figure it out. So I just said, just keep running cover. And then he goes, you're retarded. And I go, you're the Michael Malice line. Right. He answers back again. This is the threat. Is the intention to destroy all opportunities for yourself so that when people start avoiding you, you can blame the Jews? All right. All opportunities, what, by talking to you or by telling the truth as I see it? Is that the opportunity? Because you have nothing to offer me. Like I went on your show.
I know. And from your perspective, I completely understand why you took that as a threat. Let me get that out of the way. What he's saying is, if you get invited on a show, like look at Milo or Laura Loomer, like they fucking go ballistic on people. Like, do you think that they've been canceled and that's why they don't get invited back on Glenn Beck or whatever? It's like, no, you don't get invited on things because at a certain point, you just come across as so fucking dangerous and toxic that people stop giving you those invites. So he's saying you're behaving in a toxic fashion and you're going to lose opportunities, and then you're going to blame the Jews as evidence of like, look, I'm I'm being persecuted because of my beliefs.
His
I
mistake,
understand
as
that,
opposed
but-
to my actions. So that's
Yeah,
the
his
point
was-
he was making.
Here's what's happened though, because, and I know Tim Pool's in a different tax bracket than all of us, and I understand that he's got millions of followers and all that, and I also understand that he's got those millions of followers by showing up at Occupy Wall Street right when this whole racial stuff started to happen. I don't know when it started to fall apart, Tim, but here's the deal. You have this audience now that you have to play nice with, or you'll lose everything. Me, I'll say this, I don't give a fuck who hears it. I know exactly who I am, and I know people know who I am. And whether I'm successful or not, that's completely up to me. But up until now, I've used this strategy of saying what I think with a little bit of humor and telling the truth. And I don't care. Even if it's come off bombastic and people don't like it, I've said what I think. And in the end of the day, why the fuck else would I buy this microphone and sit here for hours at a time to say it? You can't do that anymore, Tim. Okay? And this was, maybe it wasn't a threat, but maybe it was an admission on his part. And I'm sorry that you can't say, and whatever, blame the Jews, whatever straw man you like to create for the next psyop that's brought upon us. You can't say what you want. That's sad, dude. I don't even know if what you have to say is even valuable, because I've never really heard you say what you really think. I love to know what you really think, but you're telling us that you've never been candid with your audience. I'm going to be candid. I'm going to see where this fucking lands. I've been canceled from a bunch of shit. I've landed on my feet every single time, and every single time I've been better off for it. I'm in a better situation with my family, my friends, the people around me, and my mental sanity for being able to say what I think in this end of days scenario. So that's where I'm at with it.
Well, and here's the truth. Like, there's actually, I know about this because of my business school. It's upstart versus established business. Like, we are upstarts. He's an established business. Upstarts are much more provocative. Risks. They take risks. They do things that major corporations simply can't. Tim, as far as a political commentator goes, is a major corporation. So he's not going to be able to take the risks that you and I can.
A lot more rigid.
Yeah, and I get it. I just understand that, and I guess I don't take it personally. Like, I know Tim personally. I know his beliefs. I think that he is just a much more moderate person than you are, or I am, for that matter. And I think oftentimes people assume that he's running away from topics to try and keep his advertisers. Maybe. I don't think so. I think that he genuinely thinks that there is a level of I don't know, kind of delirium when it comes to this Jewish stuff. Like, he thinks that it's overstated and that it's kind of derailing the right wing. I tend to agree that it is a little bit fucking over the top. So that's why I see all sides of this, and I just come in the middle. Here's the problem: I'm friends with too many fucking people. I like a lot of people. A lot of people like me, and I don't know. I can't moderate all this shit between everybody. So I'm just you go to war on Christmas. I don't give a fuck. I love you both. Figure it out.
Well, perhaps I'd be more.
War is one thing. I don't think Top was mad at all.
I know I wasn't mad at all. I'm just kind of like giving you a fiery monologue here because maybe I'll clip it later. But listen, this is what people do, right? Like, I don't even know when he's yelling at people for whatever Jewish shit. I don't even know if he means it. Like, I don't. Right. We don't know Tim. What I will say though is that if I do know somebody in real life, I'd be a lot more reluctant to be like, fuck this guy or say whatever I'm going to say about him. I met you in real life. It didn't really come off as even a person. It was a very bizarre experience. And I don't know how, from what I've heard, a lot of other guests have had that same experience. And honestly, if you've been blessed or given this opportunity, and like I said, you're fucking squandering it. Every chance you get, you squander the culture. You're sitting on a business, tens of millions of dollars. You're about to have a kid. Like, dude, why are you so like mad? Why are you so like, it just wasn't good. So that's like when I do see him
with Top Lobster,
he's just numbers. Like, it's just ones and zeros on the screen that I'm talking with back and forth. It's not not a person. And I met you in real life too, but it's like no personality there. There was nothing. It was bizarre. You had a different experience. I didn't. It was very weird.
Right. No, and I'll just to defend your position. I've gone on the show, I don't know, 10 times or whatever, and that particular appearance, he was as guarded, as unfriendly. He was just having a bad day, honestly. Like, but if I was you, and that was the only time I ever met Tim Pool, I'd be like, yeah, fuck this guy.
That's exactly how I feel about you.
Yes, and so this is why I am understanding of both sides here. But I also understand from Tim's perspective. He's like, I've given all these people, this huge platform. I don't tell them what they can't say. I mean, he may argue with you, but like that's cool. Like you should be allowed to argue with someone you disagree with. And then they're fucking flipping out on me on Christmas. Like, what's this about?
That was actually, so the original tweet was like 2 days ago, which was it was the weirdest thing. I don't know why he even replied to that. It was on like the 23rd. And he
because he's sitting there on Christmas looking through his fucking replies, and he sees one of the more liked ones is he's like, didn't I have this guy on my show? Why is he shitting on me? And then he replies and he fell in the trap. Like that's what happened.
That's it. Yeah, he fell in the trap.
That's the game. That's the game, baby. And it is what it is. We had a lot of fun. I'd like to go in a hot tub with you, Tim.
I've done that before on a yacht in Miami. Anyways, tell people where they can follow you
guys. Go ahead, Top.
You can follow us at Nephilim Death Squad. Email us at NephilimDSquad if you got any crazy stories. I'm just putting it out there. We do a show every week or so where we read these crazy supernatural, whatever kind of stories from whoever. So I love to hear what kind of crazy shit your audience went through. Follow me on Top Lobster if you like people that dunk on Tim Pool, toplobster.com for merchandise. You got Liberty Lockdown merch, Nephilim Death Squad merch. There you go.
Yo, new Liberty Lockdown polo. You got the black LL.
So professional.
It looks sick. I'm wearing it right now for the audio listeners. But yeah, toplobster.com. Grab one, wear it to work, and then have everyone think that you're a huge Lakers fan. But in fact, you're just a Liberty Lockdown psycho.
You're a white supremacist.
Yeah. If you want to support my work, subscribe on X at Liberty Lockpod or libertylockdown.locals.com. We love you guys. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Welcome to Liberty Lockdown. Please scan your barcode. Your liberty ain't gone, but yeah, it's on hold. Where did it come from and where did it